one of the great joys of learning to walk with God and all that that means is the recovery of some of the lost treasures of the Christian faith. And this one, this right here, healing the past, is perhaps one of the greatest of the lost treasures. When Jesus of Nazareth came to earth, and he stepped into center stage in Luke chapter 4, and he announced his mission, he pointed to Isaiah chapter 61. And the passage goes like this: I have come to heal the brokenhearted and set the captive free. And then all of the miracles of Jesus illustrate the sermon, right? The blind see, the deaf hear, the dead are raised. Jesus wants to restore human lives. Christianity is an offer that goes way beyond forgiveness. It includes forgiveness, thank God. Okay, but it goes way beyond merely or only forgiveness. What God is about is rescuing and restoring human lives and human hearts. And here, in healing the past, this is where we invite God and we walk with God into things that did not receive the grace of Jesus Christ, into things that perhaps happened when we did not even know Jesus Christ in our past. The restoration of our hearts requires that we go back into unresolved issues and old wounds and deep brokenness to find His grace there. I just love the idea of simply inviting Jesus into our past, inviting Him to come and heal and sanctify and restore our past. Now, here's how this works. I think that you can find a great deal of this on your own as emotions come up, or as you're praying and God brings an old memory to mind. You're watching a movie and suddenly you're feeling things that you felt when you were 12 or 7 or 3. Fear is back, or loneliness is back, or isolation and I don't want to be touched is back. Something presents itself to you again, and you remember or you recognize, wow, this is rooted somewhere back there. You pause and you ask God about it. You invite Jesus into it. Now, oftentimes when I'm doing this, I don't know where it's headed. I don't know exactly what this emotion is about or why my anger always flares up over this issue. So I ask God, Jesus, what is this rooted in? I want to go back to the roots of this because I want more than just sort of gutting it out. I want this to be cleansed and healed and restored. So you pause and you listen and you ask God. Now, the beauty of doing this in a group is, as I've said before, it is often easier to hear from God for someone else and on someone else's behalf than it is to hear for yourself. I mean, sometimes you're just too close to the forest, to see the trees. You're so in it when it's your own story that you don't know how to make sense of it. But when you're a step out, in a circle of friends, you can listen on one another's behalf and ask Jesus, Lord, where is healing needed? What is this about? It may be an eating disorder. It may be a fear of intimacy. It might be something deep and rooted in your sexuality. Or maybe just as something as simple as fear. I just sort of always battle fear. You stop and you ask Christ, Lord, what's this from? What's the history of this? Where is this rooted? And then step by step, you walk back into the past and you invite Jesus into those memories and those emotions. You invite Jesus into what you experienced then. And a couple of things usually need to take place. Quite often, agreements need to be broken. And that's often sort of step one because your heart is pinned down by agreements with abandonment or agreements with fear or agreements about yourself. I'm dirty or it was my fault. And so you start with, Lord, what are the agreements here, right? What happened and what did I come to believe and agree with about what happened? And then you break those agreements, all right? And then you just continue to listen and to pray. And as we do this together in our community, it often just goes step at a time, a step at a time. Jesus is very gentle, very kind, often not all at once and not a big pow, but a gentle, step-by-step walk with God. Now what are you saying, Jesus? And oftentimes after the agreements, he'll say things like, invite my love, invite my healing, come and bring my mercy to this place. Will you let me love you? Right? And then we have to sit with that for a moment and say, will I? What's my heart feel about that? And everyone's sort of present and listening and praying and inviting the mercy of God there. We can bring this ministry to one another. And we can experience it individually. I mean, sometimes, there isn't anybody else around, and it's just you and Christ walking back into issues in the past. Quite oftentimes, spiritual warfare is also involved because the enemy doesn't want to yield this place, right? He's had a hold here. This is that Ephesians 4 dynamic, right, where Paul says, don't let the sun go down on these things. Don't give the devil a foothold. So sometimes we have to stop and we have to bring the work of Christ against shame or fear or whatever we're dealing with so that the heart can come up and be free and healed and restored. Healing for the brokenhearted, setting of the captive heart free. It all comes together as we listen to God and invite Him to come and sanctify our past. Now, as we do that, I think we'll often find that it takes a couple of passes. We may have a very rich time and a very rich experience, and then 3 months later, 6 months later, Christ brings us back to the same issue again, not because it didn't work, but because He's after more. There's a lot of brokenness, and there's a lot of unsanctified issues in all of our past. And we want to bring all of that into the healing love and into the light of Jesus Christ.